News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkcookmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. I don't have anything, but I'm sure these fools do.
What, no National Octopus Day? No
Yesterday was National Lemur Day, but that's
Yes.
really...
Well, the lemurs deserve a shout-out.
Yeah.
How do they celebrate, Allan? I don't know.
Have you ever seen the movie Madagascar?
There
They
you
like
go.
to move it.
They move it.
There
Okay.
you go.
Well, happy belated Lemur Day, everybody. But, yeah, welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. Hey, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And you can go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like. Check out the action over there. I've already posted the must-have item of the week, which, Allan, it's interesting. I was talking about, I showed Max the item that I brought in here to the studio. My immediate thing was how useful it is and how handy it is. His mind went to what, Max?
Weaponizing it.
Yeah, what a murder weapon it would turn into if you know. Anyway.
I don't know. I've never heard anybody else in this room go, what would Putin do with it?
Yeah,
I
good
can't
point.
imagine. So.
Okay.
Hey, I can't escape my conditioning.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
So anyway, stand by for that, folks. Coming up later, look at us. We're 2 days out from Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully the weather will cooperate. The kids can do their trick or treating and everything. So
if it doesn't, it's just more candy for us.
Okay, but in honor of Halloween, with our great moments in building history, Allan, we're gonna salute the Victorian house. I guess Victorian architecture. We're gonna call it.
Yes.
Why is it so spooky? Why does it look haunted right out of the gate? And how? Anyway, we're gonna unpack that.
The rise and fall of the Victorian.
Exactly. So I hope we can get to today's design flaws. That's the new topic that we're introducing, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's something that we both agree on. We were discussing it last night, and we're both in full agreement. So Allan's week in review. Are we going to do this now? This. Allan was working on mailbox installation, sheetrock. Allan does a lot of random stuff. I generally stick to the same the same theme, but you're all over the place. I'm like, you'll text me and you're like, yeah, I just got my arm outside of a whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had a barbed wire or something. I just did. Yeah. So you never know what Allan. So we're going to start calling this Allan's Week in Review. We have our must-have item of the week. Well, we may get to the critter wars, even though it's kind of disturbing. So, and as we said, we'd love to talk to you. So get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. Well, Allan, in honor of Halloween and in lieu of a text question, we are going to introduce something today called Home Improvement Horror Stories. What better day to discuss it? So, we've got an entire list here.
I got to tell you, the number of times I have walked into a job site and actually heard that in my head. You just walk in and you look at it and go, oh.
Well, this is, of all days to weigh in, if you've got any home improvement horror stories, we'd love to hear them. And we both have one. Allan, let's kick it off. I have a countertop horror story, and you have a countertop horror.
Oh, yes.
So
absolutely.
here goes mine. And it's honestly, this one, I was not at fault. I just happened to be on the job site. This was one of these, back in the day, I used to be, I would get involved in kitchen remodeling. So I would be in there generally as like the trim carpenter.
Right.
Or maybe I was installing cabinets or doing something like that.
Okay.
So, but I never touched, I had nothing to do with granite or anything like that. So, but you remember I know granite's a big deal now too, but back in the day, everybody was getting a granite countertop.
Yes.
And what was going on, as I recall, I want to say this was 15 or so years ago, what was revolutionary was they had a new way of cutting granite. You remember how expensive granite was? And then they came up with new...
Not cheap now. So.
Right, but part of what made it so expensive was just cutting the hole for the sink, cutting the edges.
Yes.
They came up with a new technology, and to be honest, I don't even know what it was. I think it was... I don't know if it had to do with lasers or wet saws or whatever, but, somehow they streamlined the process. So this granite company with this brand new technology came in, they cut and these two guys were carrying, and this was a nice house, Allan. These two guys were carrying in the countertop. Well, this was the part of the countertop that had the hole in it for the sink.
Right.
Right in the middle.
Oh.
The hole in the sink, right in the middle, Alan. You can already see where I'm going. They were carrying it in vertically on its side.
Oof.
They began to get it, they wanted to get it into place, and suddenly they turned it on its side,
there it
and the
goes.
thing snapped right
Right
in
in
half.
half. Yep.
Well, what happened was it not only just snapped right in half and broke the. If folks, if you're wondering why it snapped in half, the reason is because there was a giant hole in the middle, and basically you had a 2-inch piece on the front and then on the back, a 2-inch run holding all of the weight of this granite countertop. So it split in half, falling on this one-of-a-kind hardwood floor, which you couldn't just go to your big box store and replace part of it. They had to replace the granite countertop. They had to replace the entire floor, which was pretty big. There was no stopping point for this.
Right.
This mistake, I want to say, cost them about $15,000. I felt horrible for these guys, man. It was awful. The only comfort was it wasn't my dime. I mean, but it made an impact on me. I never forgot that because I've had to deal with countertops in the past. In fact, I'm getting ready to put the sink area into mine, and boy, when we move it, we're not doing that. So
Oh no!
I forgot to cue this up. That was the tale of the men who ignored gravity. So,
Gravity is not a suggestion.
yeah. So, folks,
It's so
boy,
gonna
if you're
happen.
ever working with something like that, just keep in mind that you might have, it might look solid and hardy, but boy, if you've got a 2-inch whatever,
You can. The thing people forget is you can break anything if you twist it, stress it, or hit it just right.
amen.
Or if
brother.
you're just stupid enough.
Oh my gosh. It's like a bear trap waiting to happen.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Alan, you've got a countertop horror story.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, all right. This was about 15 years ago. It was kind of trendy. They were doing the new materials. All right. So you remember your granite, your quartz, and all that kind of stuff. Your classics, your marble.
Sure.
All have been around for a long time. But then they were getting into, well, there's alternatives. You can do other things.
Right.
And it's a great DIY. You too can make your very own concrete counters.
Now, Allan,
No,
in fairness,
no,
when
you
that came
can't.
out, I remember specifically tinted concrete because
Oh,
what I
yeah.
liked about that, it was basically, folks, if you don't know what he's talking about, it was a concrete. It was very powdery though. It was almost like mortar, right? It was
Yes.
almost a mortar, and they tinted it so that what I like about it is you get a little chip in the countertop, you get a little whatever, and it's still the same color. You just sand it down or whatever.
Yeah,
but
you just-
that was big, as I recall, out west and everything. A lot of like in Arizona and California, but people
but
out
that's
here
where-
were doing it too. So
Yeah, but that's where out in West, there's a chance that whoever DIY'd this
yeah.
had some experience with cement.
Okay, so what
All
happened
right,
here?
a couple
This
of-
wasn't your job, right?
Ooh, well,
Okay.
it was my job to fix it.
Oh, okay. Good.
So, you walk in, and, honestly, have you ever seen like the aftermath of children making mud pies?
oh yeah,
That area? Mm-hmm. Now, if you would, picture that in your mind, and now superimpose it over a kitchen.
right. I'm following you.
It was just, oh my gosh. They didn't brace it correctly. So now you got bulges and dribbles. Solid concrete dribbles.
Okay. Let me make sure I
Down the
understand.
sides.
Isn't the idea that you create a form, like basically almost a basin for this thing to hold?
Yes.
It's a big rectangular or
Yeah.
whatever size form. You fill it up and you smooth the top off like you would a driveway. Then you take the form off.
Grossly underestimated the weight of that much wet cement.
Oh, so they're using the 1/4-inch little whatever.
Oh yeah, it was not pretty. So
that would make a mess, Alan.
Oh, it did. It did. We were taking up the floor because there were solid. It's kind of like when you're mudding something, when you're sheetrocking,
Yeah.
and a little bit of mud hits the floor. Don't let it get solid. Don't.
Good point.
And the other thing people just love to think is that concrete dries.
You said
Concrete does not dry.
it cures.
Cement does not dry. These
Right.
things cure based on a time frame.
Right.
So you're not thinking, oh, it's still wet in the middle. I can still do something. No, you can't. It's a chemical reaction,
Right.
and it creates heat. And if it's not bonded to something correctly, it will either adhere forever or not grab it at all.
I forgot about the heat part of it. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's-
There's a lot going on with
There's
concrete.
a lot going on in here that no one had ever explained to this poor gentleman.
He thought you just get in there, you dump it in, and
He
let it
thought
dry
you went
and
got a big old bags of Quikrete and went in there and had at it. And you're like, no.
So
no,
wait,
no,
did
no.
it collapse? Did it break in half?
Well, all right. What it did was separate from everywhere he wanted it to not separate. It adhered to everything he didn't think it was going to stick to.
Yeah.
And it was lumpy.
So
it was
wasn't
not
that
smooth,
smooth, glassy
it was not
surface he
smooth.
was going for.
And he used the wrong material.
What do you use?
He basically like he was putting a post in the ground.
So he had the gravel.
He
and
had
everything.
oh my gosh. and I know what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
He wanted this kind of cool riverbed look. And I was like, no, that's not how
On
you
a
do it.
countertop.
That's not how you do this. That's not how you do this.
Was this guy married?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is he still married? Because I'm just wondering. I
There
mean,
was.
that sounds like a
And of
recipe
course, he's
for.
looking at me with these big doe eyes and expectation that I'm going to magically like take a sander out
Yeah.
and save the day.
Right.
Can I do it again?
Yeah. That means he needs to keep playing that.
And of course, I looked at him and I said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to
Right.
go buy the proper stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to go buy the proper stuff. And
Oh, so you were going to try to salvage this operation?
no. And then I handed him Little Yellow, the small 10-pound
The small
sledge. And went,
okay.
and we're going to remove this.
Right.
And the look in his eye was like, we're about to kill his puppy. And I'm like, dude, this isn't going to work. We got.
Okay, hang on, Alan. Hold on.
Oh, my
I've
gosh.
seen this done two ways. I've seen it where they literally will pour this thing in place on top of the countertop,
And that's
or
what we
they'll
did.
pour it. So that's what he did first.
Yes.
It must have destroyed his cabinets. It must have
He
ruined.
did.
It's dangerous to your plumbing.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to put a new trap in because that was solid.
Oh my.
Oh, yeah, the
gosh.
drippings had gotten. Oh, yeah, the P-trap, when I took that thing off, Joe, weighed about 5 pounds.
I mean, this really does sound like a monster movie. So
It was just horrifying when you walked in and you're just like, okay, now where did you mix your concrete? And like I couldn't see on every cabinet around in the circular pattern.
How long ago was this?
This is about 15 years ago.
So this is before people jumped on YouTube and did things to get.
This was really
He heard
kind of-
about it and went and bought $20 worth of concrete and went at it.
Yeah,
so.
somebody had told him, this is a cool idea. It's out, So he went and bought I'm putting post in the backyard concrete, and he just got a lot of bad advice first, and then 2 or 3 days of cleaning.
Okay.
And then we got the proper stuff, and we got it framed out, and we got the plywood underlay done properly. And then,
Right.
and by the time we got done, I got to admit, he decided to go with the terracotta.
Uh-huh.
So it had a nice finish.
Nice color.
And, when we got done and you took the little buffer and you ran it over it with the terry cloth on it,
Yeah.
we got a pretty nice shine on it, and it looked good, and but it was a lot more work than he thought.
Yeah, that does sound
This
like
was
a
one of
horror
those.
story.
If you've never done it before, really, your first try doesn't need to be the permanent solution.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. All right, Alan, I've got another one. So we're going to call cue it up, Max. What are you waiting for? Normally you push the buttons right on cue. We got to get this anyway. We're going to call this
Just keep going.
All right, we're calling this the tale of the young house painter who allowed the homeowner to purchase the paint.
Oh no! Right on time.
Okay, the timing was definitely better with that one. You had to give the title of the story first before I do it.
All right, we really got to work this stuff out in our show prep. Anyway, this is a autobiographical story, Alan.
Oh no!
This was when this is as an early. Okay, folks, if you ever start your own business, especially if you're going to be a contractor, your mindset is a little different. My mindset is totally different than it was in those days.
Oh yeah.
In those days, it was exciting for people to hire you, and you didn't say no to anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, you want me to climb that 50-foot tree and get the okay, sure, I'll do that. But these days I'm more selective. But this was back in I was very young, and I was doing house painting work, and the homeowner was insistent that the best paint for the outside was oil-based paint. Okay, well, Alan, you've heard, folks. If you've listened to me or listened to us on the show for any length of time, you know my feelings about exterior oil-based paint. I was a little bit not a fan because I'm thinking, I don't know, I don't really like oil-based paint, but I want to be hired, so I said, okay. And she goes, and I've got a great deal with the paint store, so I'll pick up the paint.
No.
Red flag number 2, and I said, well, okay, sure. You know, you're the customer.
You're the boss, yeah.
So I won't name the brand, but this is really about the cheapest paint you could have possibly gotten. So anyway, I go ahead, and this is paint. We're talking siding and
was the Chuck Wagon
trim.
Special.
Yeah, the Chuck. We're talking, everything, Alan. This wasn't just woodwork or anything. So a lot of preparation. I still did my prep. Put the paint on. Came back, and for one thing, the fumes, they still affect you even outside when you're up on a ladder and you're rolling on oil, which I hated. The whole process was miserable. Came back the next day, and you know what I'm talking about, Alan. You get there, there's these little, folks, you've probably seen it. If paint is not adhered correctly, you get these little wrinkles. You get you put your finger on it, and it shifts and it rubs, and if you peel it off, it's basically wet on the inside. It was everywhere. I mean, it was. Thing. She's like, well, I wonder what's wrong with the paint. And I said, okay, whatever. Basically, I had to scrape, strip, wash, whatever, and then redo it and prime it. And then I finally put my foot down and said, we're doing it in latex.
Yeah,
and of course, I was not good at negotiating back then. I think I wound up losing a bunch of money on this. But Alan, it jaded me for the rest of my life. You would have to. Drag me kicking and screaming to put anything oil-based outside. Plus, you know my feelings. They mildew.
It's gonna mold.
It's just not good.
It's not gonna last.
Especially in a climate where there's a lot of humidity and everything. So anyway, I don't see a lot of oil-based
not anymore
exterior paints. Do you? I can't even remember the last time I have. So anyway, all right, go ahead.
All right.
That seems to have triggered Alan.
The importance of putting a cap on your chimney.
Okay. Let's hear it.
All right, so I
better
was
long head
told-
development, and therefore better bicep.
That'll work.
Silly
I'm
advertisements.
calling this radio
That'll
horror
work.
story.
Gotta love live radio.
Has Max had his caffeine
So,
this morning? All right, go ahead.
It's
Alan.
those silly advertisements.
All right, go ahead.
So here we go. I get told.
Give me the name of the story before I cue it
Okay,
up.
The Haunting of Cottage C.
Okay.
So we're working on a series of cottages.
Yeah.
And this is down on the Gulf Coast. And everybody's kind of like, well, all right, I'm going to start working on this one. I'm going to start working on that one. I'm like, all right, well, great. Give me the one in the middle. And everybody that worked there all looked at me like, oh. I suddenly had that Stephen King moment, where the old guy looks at you and goes, so why do you want to go over there? That's where everybody
pretty good
disappears.
Stephen King, I have to say.
And I was like, oh, here we go. So I get Cottage C, and I go in, and it's dated and needs update, and we're cleaning it. We're doing the clean out right now, but everybody keeps telling me it's got a demon in it. It's got a demon in it. It's got a demon in it.
Okay.
So I had to go run to a local town, another town down the road. So I didn't
local
get back.
priest?
Yeah,
No,
kidding.
that's another town. Pick up some supplies, and I come back, and I don't get back until like about 11 o'clock at night.
Oh man.
So you know what? I'm just going to unlock Cottage C. I'm just going to put everything in the living room, and I'll deal with it in the morning. Right?
Yeah.
So I unlock the door, put all the stuff in the middle, and out of the darkness, you hear something flapping.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Woof,
Yeah.
woof.
Please, can I do it one more time?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He's thinking about it. There we go. So you hear literally the flap of a cape, the wings, something in the darkness. You can't see it.
It's a cabin in the woods
It's
at
a
night
cabin
at
in
11
the
o'clock.
woods.
That's
We're in a
pretty
little
good setting.
cottage, and I feel the air coming towards me, and I just swing out with my hand and grab something out of the air.
Oh.
It's warm, and thank heavens it's feathery.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it?
It was a nighthawk.
What? I don't know what that is, but
They're those things you hear flying around streetlights at night.
Oh.
You hear that was one of those. Had
pretty good reflexes
was
man.
nesting in the chimney.
Yeah.
And would come out the bottom of the chimney, fly around, then go back up the chimney. In this case, it got the grab of its life, and I snatched it out of the air, took it outside, and let it go.
Alan,
the next
if
day,
this-
we blocked up the chimney.
If this was Quidditch, that would have been the catch of a
I would have
you
won
would
the
have been
game.
a seeker for sure.
I would have
so
won the game.
That's
yes.
a tale, and I mean that could have gone wrong in any number of ways.
Well,
so,
if it had
yeah.
been a bat, I'd have been getting rabies shots.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, folks, if you've got any home improvement horror stories, this is the day to weigh in.
Just any excuse for me to push the button.
Yeah, on time, Max. You're a little late.
Hey, gotta contribute to the suspense of the season.
We're gonna take a break, and Max is gonna get his caffeine. But anyway, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9 The Roar Memphis. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about design flaws.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design.
News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis.
Allan, I wish I could claim that, but this has been a little bit of a sloppy first segment. Max, I'm looking directly at you.
I'm enjoying it.
All right.
It's
Anyway.
Halloween, dude. Lighten up. Have some more candy.
Oh, yeah.
'Tis the season of sloppy and spooky.
Okay, good. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the under-caffeinated Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And today would be the perfect day to contact us, especially, you know what would be great? Taking advantage of our text line, because when you text into the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, you can even send pictures. So if you've got a home improvement horror story, send us the pictorial evidence.
I just want to push the button.
Max is dying to push that haunted music button. So send it in. This is a great day to do that. And, it doesn't have to be your home improvement horror story. If you've witnessed something or if you went to some friend's house.
Throw someone else under the bus.
That's exactly. Throw your friends under the bus. Throw your brother-in-law, somebody under the bus. We want to see that. So also you can get we invite you to go to Tool Talk Radio on Facebook and check out the action over there, including the must-have item of the week. You can decide, is it more of a tool or is it more of a murder weapon, as Max, indicated. So, hey, Allan, so earlier we were talking about home improvement horror stories. I guess, I don't know. I don't want the whole show to be about bad things, but we do want to talk about, we're calling this design flaws. This is going to be a new segment, and I don't know if it'll be weekly, but it's going to be a more or less regular segment. It's a good way to get on our soapbox and vent, and
There's I think this is appropriate music.
Okay.
Looks like a loose nail.
Yeah, 1 out
I
of
think
25
so.
ain't bad.
I'd call it. We're gonna need a
You don't have any
custom,
code
vocal
violations, do you?
but yeah. Okay.
Nope.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
What do you think of the house that Love built? Oh, shoot.
All right, Allan. This is going to be my
Fire the
soapbox
first
moment.
salvo.
So, okay, design flaws, folks. We're, as we indicated last week when we introduced this topic. It's basically just because something comes out, just because something's state of the art and trendy and is really hip
And
today.
some decorator in New York loves it.
Right. Doesn't mean that
Oh.
it's necessarily gonna be around for long, or that it's well designed, or that it's well thought out.
That just makes me think of an episode of Seinfeld where it's like, speaking of designer in New York, oh, that cabinet is a Farbman.
Oh, my
Oh yeah,
gosh.
Farbin is the if we had more Farbins in the world, it'd be
No.
okay. But Allan, in fact, we as we've said in the past, Frank Lloyd Wright used to make some interesting buildings, but from a design perspective, a lot of times the roof leaked. They had structural issues,
There were
things like that.
functionality issues,
Right.
to
Well,
go along with the appearance.
This one, I'm going to be honest. I'm not. I didn't like this from the get-go when this came out. These are those. I think they're called basin sinks. Okay, so folks, you've probably seen them. This was big. I want to say 10 or 15 years ago. You would basically take a bathroom cabinet. Usually, what they would do is take an unusual cabinet. Maybe you take a piece of furniture and convert it into a bathroom cabinet. And instead of a sink, you would take a decorative bowl.
Yes.
More or some copper bowl or some kind of ceramic bowl. You put a hole in the bottom,
A stock pot.
and whatever you want to do. I've literally seen it with a spaghetti pot, whatever. So you
yes.
take that, You drill a hole in the bottom for the drainage. Then you run the plumbing over the top. Okay, admittedly, it's different. It looks like something Andy Warhol would have had in his bathroom, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure interior designers are the ones that came up with it. So if you're the designer that came up with this stuff, send your hate mail over here to Tool Talk. But in terms of functionality, that's what we're talking about. It might look really cool. I'm not arguing with that. But let's talk about the design
All right, a
problems,
sink
Allan.
is not a place to get cutesy.
Right.
I'm going to throw in admit your lifestyle. Do you honestly bathe mice? Really? Do you need a sink that is 1 inch deep and is designed to look like a goldfish? I mean, honestly.
Well, Allan, I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where there's barely any, so the water splashes and it goes over
It's
side.
everywhere.
But
Oh
I've
my
seen
gosh.
it the reverse. I've seen it where it's almost like a salad bowl where it's so deep.
Yeah.
If you have a kid that's under 5 feet tall, they wouldn't even be able to reach their arms over the top.
They need a step stool just to get to it to see if they can reach the handle.
So
Right.
some of the problems I've seen with that have to do with, either the basin is too small, the water splashes out, or it's so massive that it's hard to reach in there. I've seen issues where it runs down, the water splashes over, it runs down the side of the basin onto wood, which is basically what the counter of that, it's usually like a wooden chest. And so now you've got
Now
water
it's gonna
sitting
pucker. Yeah.
sitting there. It's puckering. It's mildewing. It's loosening the seal. The bowl is only attached by one little. Man, I'm really getting on a roll here. But usually the bowl is only attached by that threaded
The actual
connector
drain mount
of
itself,
the drain
right.
mount, which is not meant to be supporting that kind. That's basically meant to hold a seal. It's not meant for your kid to lean on it and pull and loosen. Are they still around anymore? I don't see a lot of these anymore.
All right. There are a few places where I have seen them done as Art Deco pieces.
Yeah, they look cool. I'm not going to argue with it, but
all right, when they're done purely as a convenience piece, they're okay.
Okay.
All right, so when you have that little auxiliary sink that maybe gets used once a month.
Yeah.
It's kind of there as a convenience.
It's in your guest bathroom.
It's not a usable feature.
Right.
Because in the high traffic areas, give it up and stick with industrial.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, go with function over form. Now, that's not to say there's not a lot of good looking sinks out there that are utilitarian.
Right.
There are a lot of good sinks out there that will serve your purpose, but will do it so much better because it's actually a designed sink mounted properly in the type of cabinet it's supposed to be in.
Right.
There's a lot to be said for that because I go in a lot of commercial buildings and I hate finding those ridiculous pedestal basin sinks. And they are always someplace high traffic.
Yeah.
And it is always a travesty.
Right.
It is that public bathroom that 400 people use, and it's impossible to, I feel sorry for the poor cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Because it's just, they're trashed constantly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I salute the decorative part of this, but man, the basin sink, I'm calling that a design flaw. Maybe one day they'll perfect it. Maybe it'll be done, but I think the trend is already gone. Folks, if you're out there and you have any horror stories about your basin sink or about a friend's basin sink, get in touch with us. Let us know.
You turned on the water and it fell off.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've seen it, but that's
awful.
So I think that's something we're gonna do, Alan. We're gonna weigh in on these design flaws because it's a good way to get this stuff off our chest and also maybe help shape the future of design in our own small little way. Because what I notice with these trends is the people that come up with the ideas are usually not the ones that have to install this stuff
Or maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get more into that when we start talking about the Victorian stuff. But, Joe, you and I have become really good at predicting things.
Yeah.
So, if you guys have followed us for years, our track record is actually fairly amazing.
It's funny you say that, Alan. I felt like we should brag a little later in the show because in science, actually, we didn't tease this, but there is something happening which we've called. If you've ever listened to Geek Tank Radio, we've predicted stuff like 6 or 7 years ago that NASA is doing today. So, but
wonderful.
Anyway, well, I feel better, Alan. I've been wanting to purge and
wanting to slam that sink forever.
Yeah. All right. You know who does not deal with design flaws? You know who is somebody that conquers design flaws somebody that is always working with the cutting edge technology of well-designed products, and that's our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. Okay, Train, you got to give them hats off. They keep their systems updated. They're always dealing with the state-of-the-art technology. It's funny, as we said, every 20 so odd years you get these transformative moments in technology, and if you look at an air conditioner today, it's one of those investment, a heating and air conditioning unit that's well made, pays for itself. How many things can you say do that? I mean, it literally pays for itself by lowering your utility bills.
And here in the Mid-South, you're going to have one.
You have to have one. Yep. You need one that's efficient. And also, even if you don't replace your HVAC system, you need one that's well-maintained, which is why we suggest getting in touch with Brown Refrigeration for a tune-up. Get them in there to inspect. It's next to nothing to have them come in, inspect your system, make sure it's ready for the winter. Especially with gas leaks, you want to make sure it's venting properly. And it's like an auto mechanic. Get them in there once a year. Get them in there when if there's a repair to be done, and especially when it's time to replace your unit. Brown Refrigeration is really the top of the line, and they have the best customer service, and we love the Remy Halo systems, which to me are sort of just a standard now. You're just going to want that. It's works with it's using the UV power of the sun to clean the air in your home, and all the air that it's pushing out is clean, and it cleans every surface that it hits. It does. So it's just great work. They have a great business culture over there, and they answer their phones.
Yes.
And once you get your system up and running, you can control it all with the smart home technology right from your phone. It's pretty nifty, man. So there's no reason not to call. Wait, that's another double negative. Just call.
Right. Just give them a call.
Just give them a call. You can call Brown Refrigeration at 901-362-1881, or go to their very easy-to-remember website, brownref.com. All right, Alan, hey, I guess this is a new segment. Maybe we'll do this for each of us, but this is Alan's Week in Review, mostly because you did a couple. I mean, you worked inside, you worked outside, you've been hanging from buildings, you did. So it's useful sometimes to just hear what you're doing and get some tips here. So what did you do this week, my friend? So,
well, let's see. First off, we did a follow-up on the rat removal.
All right, you didn't warn me on that one. I didn't. You're talking about the one, folks. If you didn't hear, what was that, 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. You're only removing it now. Your friend heard a rat trap snap at 2 a.m. in the home.
Yep. And
that's upsetting.
How do we say? She braved up and took care of that issue herself. However, it's been a couple of weeks, so it's time to follow up. And we talk about. You talk about a home. This ties into our horror stories also, because she had work done previously behind where her washer is, and the people left a hole the size of a beagle.
Yeah, because we've been wondering how it would get in, because that's what I thought it was up by the soffit or something.
Pulled the refrigerator and the dryer out, and here is just the pipes were exposed, the opening to the attic, everything. So that has now been sealed.
Okay, good. Because she doesn't have pets or anything to drive them off.
No, thank goodness you didn't have anything to go get in the wall from her side.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, so thank goodness. So we did a little follow-up on that, boom, of exterior thing number 2. Where stuff is going to rot is at the soil line.
Sure.
So
that's where your fences.
That's where your fence posts are going to rot. Yep. That's also where your mailbox post is going to rot.
Yeah, if it's holding water, if you go out there on a rainy day or after the rain stops and you just see water sitting there at the bottom, you need to do something to reroute that.
So, you know, you get the call, my mailbox is laying on the ground. So you get over there, and sure enough, and where is it rotted off? Right exactly at the ground level.
Sure.
So this is where I'm going to point out something kind of cool. Went and bought a mailbox kit to replace this, and it came with a huge spike.
Yeah, explain that, Alan, because you talked about it, but I was trying to visualize
All right,
what
so
because I haven't installed a mailbox in a while.
I haven't done one in a few years. It was just favor for a friend, and it came with a 4x4 cedar post, and of course cedar resist rot for decades.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we bought the kit. But the really cool thing is it came with a powder coated spike that you would drive into the ground, and then you would drive the mailbox post onto the spike.
Right.
It was already pre-drilled, but it was just tight enough where you needed a little small sledgehammer. But you drove this spike into the ground. Now you drove the post onto the spike, and now at ground level, there's nothing to rot.
So wait a minute. Okay, hang on. I just want to make sure I understand that. So basically, you don't have to use concrete.
No concrete.
Do you feel comfortable that that's going to hold it? Like, I just feel like if you pushed it, it could loosen up.
2-foot long spike. It doesn't push.
Because, folks, if you ever put in like columns outside your house, maybe you have to put in new columns. A lot of times what you'll do is you'll get these little spacers that they're about, I don't know, they're 3/4 of an inch thick, Alan, those one. Like if you have a cedar post, like you're saying, on your deck, and you put it there so that the water is not, it's not in contact with ground level. Well, it can evaporate.
Right.
So it sounds like a similar principle. So.
Well, it is. But, what you have is a very strong center post. So it's not falling over. It's not wiggling. And heaven help if somebody tries to run it over, because there's a big old iron post in the middle of it. I was very impressed in how easy the system went together.
So you were able to drive that in without a sledgehammer? You said
with a sledgehammer, the small sledgehammer, a little 5-pound handheld.
And it can hold up to you whacking it with a sledgehammer.
Oh yeah, it did. Easy.
Alan, I feel like we ought to insert some just cautionary tales here.
Some safety tips here.
Well, the first thing that occurred to me, Alan, is that it's probably by the street, right? This is out by the street.
Yes.
Well, so are water lines, and so are other things. So, you people better double check. Don't put this near your water meter.
Well, what we did was we went right next to the old post.
Okay, good.
So literally, this is the old post where it rotted off. We left it in the ground because it is at ground level, so the lawnmower can go over it. Nobody's going to trip over it.
Yeah.
But to be honest, with this new system, there was no reason to go dig it out and drag it out of the ground. We just moved over, drove in next to it, so I was fairly secure that we weren't going to hit any water pipes, not getting any power lines. Once we had that effectively driven into the ground, we drove the post in and locked it down securely right at the ground level where it was supposed to be. Installed the mailbox on top. 6 screws later, absolutely solid and looked wonderful.
Interesting system, Alan, because it saves you a lot of work digging, filling it in with concrete, all that stuff's kind of.
I had the post hole diggers, and I was ready to get out there and start. We opened that box up and went, well, this is going to take 3 minutes.
I don't want to beat this into the ground, literally, but I'm very curious about that. How do you get it level? Like, does that post hole? You know what I'm saying? Like, when you mount it, are you able to adjust how it goes in?
What I did was level the spike as we put it in.
Okay, well, tell people how you did, because that's the first thing I thought of. All
right, so the cool thing is you can buy these little 9-inch levels that have a magnetic side.
Yeah,
I just set that baby in there. We lined it up till it was nice and straight. Tap, 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 tap. Just kept checking it every few taps, made sure we had it good and straight. Once the original post was perfectly straight, we didn't have to worry about the rest of it.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like where people go wrong is not leveling.
Well, yeah, if you just grabbed the thing and went out there and went all javelin with it, you'd be, hopefully you got it, maybe you didn't.
Okay, all right. Hey, that's pretty cool. I'm anxious to try one of those now. So.
I got to admit, I was very impressed. It was a very, very nifty idea.
Okay. Now, what else did you do this week? So,
well, let's see. Then there was a lot of furniture to deal with. There's a lot of furniture. A lot of people are buying new furniture, getting new furniture. I will say this: please measure first.
Measure what?
Really
where
measure
it's going to
go. All right. The biggest thing I ran into this week, the horror story of this week, was basically secretarial desk.
Oh, okay.
Had a client.
Those are usually pretty big, right?
Well, they had to fit in a very specific spot.
Yeah.
So you only had like 1/4 of an inch on either side. The other problem was they're not a good design.
What do you mean?
Well, they're very front heavy. All right. So, what I mean by front heavy is by the time you open the drawer,
it shifts the weight.
The weight shifts. Now, when it's all compact and sitting there in the corner against the wall, fine. But if you start putting stuff like a cell phone and a stapler and a couple of things that have some weight to them, there is actually a tipping hazard that this could fall forward off the wall. So we went back in and reinforced the secretarials to the wall, just to make sure. Because the person whose house this is a little bit older, sort of like me, and they lean on stuff. And when they go to get up, they're going to put their hands on it, and they're going to go to stand up, and this thing honestly could have flipped.
Well, go ahead, Alan. You triggered me. I put a pin in the whole mounting stuff and tipping hazard because you just really made me think. I discovered tipping hazards when my kids were really little. And it's stuff you never think about.
Exactly.
It could be just a normal desk. You pull that file cabinet out at the bottom, and suddenly you just shifted all the weight of that desk. And this stuff will tip over.
And it's
or a
things
dishwasher.
You don't expect. Oh, exactly. It's things you just don't expect until you shift the weight on it.
Yeah.
So that was a whole big thing because now we're going all through the house, honestly, kind of grabbing tables and chairs and furniture and kind of shaking them and pulling them forward to see if they're going to shift that much that there's actually a tipping hazard.
It's something to think about. We might have to brainstorm off the air, Alan, because tipping hazards are it can be tragic. Honestly, there's serious injury.
I mean,
if you've got a tall, thin bookcase and that thing falls
my gosh, yes.
or something, so it's like. But I'm thinking of dishwasher. When we moved into our house that we live in now, the dishwasher just was willy-nilly. You pull it open, you pull the bottom rack out, and it's like, why is this thing shifting all of a sudden? Well, it wasn't secured at the top, And
nobody put the two screws in the top to hold that, to keep it from shifting.
Or they did, and they over time,
the
steam and everything made it fall out and everything.
The wobble out. So, I mean, it was kind of my cautionary tales this week was, the mailbox. I loved the new system.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my running gag is somebody stayed up late one night thinking of this.
Yeah.
You knew some designer's mailbox rotted off at the ground and they went, put a post in there first.
I do like some of the new innovations with that. And I like the notion of how easy that is. But, do what Allan did. Make sure it's level. Make sure you
there are
drive
kind
it
of some. There's some old timer tips that you look at it and went, let's make sure we're level. Let's make sure we got this lined up. But honestly, it was like a 10-minute installation.
Okay, and maybe walk around your house and look at things that need to be attached to the walls because and when you attach them, make sure you hit a stud. Make sure
The desk tipping forward was a big shock because looking at it, your mind would have never said, "Oh, that's going to fall over."
Yeah,
but
that's how that stuff always is.
Well, but that was just kind of the big surprise looking around the house because the other one is tripping hazards,
right?
And it only sticks out a little bit. Well, that little bit might be your little toe.
Right. Well, that's true. Yeah. So, and you said you did some sheetrock work too.
Yeah,
this
we
week.
got a little sheetrock work done in. A guy was actually trying to install an LED light and then changed his mind where he wanted to put it.
Oh yeah.
So now he's got a big circular hole in his ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go in and go, all right, let me show you how to patch that so it doesn't fall on your head.
How big of a hole are we talking about?
It was 3 inches.
Okay.
It was a 3-inch hole saw. Put a hole right through the ceiling.
Is that how did you fix it? Because there's different ways. If it's in the ceiling, there's a lot of ways you could have done that.
What we did was basically we took the equivalent of a paint stirring stick, put it up in the hole, screwed it into place, so we had some place to screw the patch that he's drilled out back into it, so then we could mud it, clean it up, and have a good, secure installation that's not going to fall back out on his head.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good way to do it. I've done that many times, but I was just curious because I was wondering if you use that metal mesh thing. I sometimes
don't use that.
I'm not a big fan.
I don't use that because generally I find that the glue on it gives, and then your plug falls out.
That might turn up on another one of our design flaw discussions.
Oh, yeah.
Because that
Not a mesh fan. I am a support fan and put the screws back in.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, man, what a show. Hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, but never fear, folks. Hour 2 is coming up. We're going to kick it off with our great moments in building history as we stay spooky, talking about Victorian homes.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And, excuse me. And welcome back to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio on Facebook. Go to Tool Talk Radio on Facebook. Check out the action over there, including the must-have item of the week, which I've already posted. And really, today is a great day to take advantage of the text line, especially because if you've got, earlier in the show, if you're just waking up, we were talking about home improvement horror stories, Allan, and we would love to hear any home improvement horror stories you've encountered. It doesn't have to be your story. It could be somebody else's. It could be something that you've seen online. I don't know, just something that really struck a nerve.
Great idea that didn't turn out so good. And we want some pictures.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can send pictures with the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline. So send those over, 901-683-0989. And Allan, apparently we did get a text that it had nothing to do with a horror story, but it was coming to my defense somehow.
Yes. Well, let's see here. Scott J. Carroll, the host of Let Me Ask You This, sent in a grammatical defense for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
And he said, while technically a double negative, no reason not to is an accepted and assumed positive.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I mean, Aristotle, a famous philosopher. He commonly used double negatives to assert his points.
I guess
it's not uncommon.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like, there's a certain pretension with double negative. Plus, because, folks, if you listen to when I talk about Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration, I say there's no reason not to call him. Well, that's pretty, I mean, I don't even think it's pretentious. I think it's just weak and sloppy. So I need to do better. But thanks, Scott J. Carroll, for the defense.
There you go.
I don't know. But, hey, Allan, I said, I always do this every week. I say, when we come back, we're going to do our great moments in building history, which we're going to do. We're going to get to our great moments in building history in a minute. But before we do that, let's knock this out of the way because we have another must-have item of the week that I want to discuss.
One of my favorites,
and it's already up on the Facebook page. Everybody, if you want to check it out. But Allan, tell people what I'm holding up here.
You have the infamous oversized flathead screwdriver.
Oversize is the key, folks. This thing's big. To give you a sense of scale, I took a picture of it and I put it next to a ballpoint pen. Right. You will see this thing is, Now let's be honest, Allan. We can confess here. I don't just use it as a screwdriver.
Oh no!
As Max indicated, if you're carrying this stuff, in self-defense, you could probably.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I've actually got one about twice the size of yours.
Yeah,
which is great.
Because sometimes there are things I've seen. You've seen this. Sometimes there are oversized screws and you really need that extra torque. If you notice this one too, folks, you'll see that it's basically the shaft is the metal shaft that goes out to it. It's not round, it's square. So if you really got to torque it down, you can push it against there and put a wrench against it and really tweak it, really torque it.
Yeah. Now, the number of windows I have unstuck.
Oh yeah.
You just get that thing right under that edge, and now I've got enough. You don't really want to just crank down and break anything, but you got enough leverage and enough surface area contacting it under there. You can get a good lift.
It's like a pry bar. It's multi-purpose, and it's sometimes you need that. So it's like you want to keep every size screwdriver in your, because if you're one of these where I'm just going to get the medium size and use that for everything, it doesn't really work. and that's when you'll strip screws, and that's when you'll be frustrated because you don't have enough torque. But the oversized, and as we say, it only takes it only takes a little more to go first class. So the one in that vein, get yourself a handful of different size screwdrivers. You'll be happy you did. So anyway, okay, Allan, before we get to our great moments in building history, I just want to remind everybody, I'm guessing he probably has a wide variety of screwdrivers because he does every kind of work that you would think of, and that's our good buddy Jay Hill from Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Probably not a lot of screwdrivers are used during the roofing, but it definitely during his remodeling work.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he does it all, and especially, folks, we love to, I think Jay's coming in next week. He had sort of some breaking news for us that's pretty good, so that's a little tease. But anyway, Jay Hill, Big M Roofing and Remodeling, 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He's a 5 stars with Good Housekeeping. He's a GAF Master Elite installer. And GAF, really, that should get your attention because they are the company you want to be a part of, Allan. So.
They are amazing.
And they're everything they do is state of the art. They're always on the cutting edge. We talk about how HVAC systems evolve every 20 years or so. The roofing systems that they put in today are nothing like what we grew up with. I mean, it's not even close. These things, and they do pay for themselves. As we said, you and I have new roofs that Jay Hill's put on, and every month I look at my utility bill, and it's less. I'd say it's a good $50 or $60 less than what it was before I had that roof. So
every time it rains, I just smile.
Yep, exactly. So, but if you've got any roofing issues, the other great opportunity with Jay Hill is the fact that he's a former insurance agent, which means he knows all of the protocols if you need to make a homeowner's claim because this replacement or the repairs or even some of the remodeling repairs may be covered by your homeowner's insurance, like they were for you and I, Allan.
Indeed,
we enjoyed that. So. And Jay knows everybody. He's got, he's just very good at this. When he shows up on the job or when he shows up to give you a quote, you're like, okay, suddenly this problem that seemed really daunting and really horrifying is suddenly there's a way forward. And he brings a great energy to the project. So
he makes you happy he's on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like an advocate. And all of this expertise is free. I mean, there's no reason you should take advantage of this because he shows up, he gives you all the advice, he will let you know if there's a path forward with a claim, and if not, the other good part is Jay Hill has his Big M Roofing and Remodeling has a relationship with 30 different lenders. So if maybe you want to finance this, the application takes minutes, I think, and you basically you're probably going to qualify for at least a third of those lenders, and then you can select the terms that you want. So really, just get in touch with Jay, and especially too if you got any unique remodeling projects as well. So he's a great guy, very trustworthy, very dynamic, a very dynamic personality. He's won us over, Allan. We're proud to have him as part of Tool Talk Radio. Get in touch with him directly. You can call him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, well, here we go. My favorite time of the week.
Great moments in building history.
Yep. The mysterious voice is spoken, Allan. So, okay, this is something you're kind of spearheading, but Max, you were very excited to weigh in on this too. So, okay,
we'll see.
All right. Well, anyway, Allan, tell us what you got for us today.
Okay, well, we're going to set the Wayback Machine just a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to go back to the Edwardian times where we began to have urbanization. We began to have
for those
cities.
of us that don't know what Edwardian means,
Edwardian
what years are we talking?
is about 150 years ago.
Okay.
So
right.
the Edwardian era was just before the quote-unquote Victorian era.
Okay.
So, but here's what happened. We began to see some non-royal affluence.
So, are we talking Europe here? Or
we're talking Europe, Great Britain, London, and we're talking the Great Victorian era, the great era of colonialism, when basically, we're talking about steampunk. I mean, we're talking about this time of when railways began coming in, and the world got a little smaller.
Okay, you said something, though, that really caught my attention because, I'm a red-blooded American, patriotic. You said non-royalty affluence or something like that. Okay, so in other words,
affluence.
You're out there, you're hustling, you come up with a better product, you pull yourself up from your bootstraps,
Absolutely.
you become a millionaire because freedom and capitalism and all that fun stuff.
You happen to be a victim of your own talent,
right?
So to speak. So
okay.
If you're truly a master tile layer, well, now there's a market that makes you.
You may
affluent.
become right. Okay, cool.
You also are living in a better home,
right?
So the quintessential rural cottage system kind of worked like this. So, Joe, how many children do you have?
4.
You have 4 children.
Yeah.
So that meant you and the wife built a cottage, and you had your nice little farm.
Okay.
And for each of your children, you probably built each one of them a cottage.
Oh, that's interesting. Then, they get their own cottage.
That's kind of how you grew the farm and the family.
Okay.
But you also built a kitchen that was not a part of the house because it might burn down.
As you've said, and it's hot and it's uncomfortable.
So all these things. So here we have basically the beginnings of kind of a little small village. But now we're getting a little more urban. Now you got neighbors. So now instead of having all of these little cottages, you began having specific rooms in the house.
So you have
as
a home,
opposed to
but
a
it's
specific
broken
cottage.
I got you. Yeah.
So now you had the kitchen and the serving and the dining room and the parlor and so now instead of building separate buildings, suddenly we have
zones,
areas.
Yeah. Okay.
And now you have the birth of the Victorian house.
All right.
Where we didn't have man cave, you had a study. The wife had a parlor. The children had a play area or area in the garden. And so now we have a very visually stunning, or I should say very visually active, of Victorian style. Think like the Addams Family house or any Gothic mystery or any vampire movie.
Yeah, the first thing you think of is you think of the Munsters, the Addams Family, Psycho. But why do we... Go ahead. I know we're going to get to that because there's a reason we associate that stuff.
Well, and we're there.
Yeah.
Because here's what happened.
Right.
This was a time when labor was very inexpensive. So you could afford to have a lot of people dusting and cleaning and maintaining.
Okay. All right.
And we didn't have a lot of... We didn't have a lot of modern building conveniences like, exterior lumber.
Yeah.
So lumber was lumber, interior, exterior. So there was a lot of maintenance and upkeep that went with having a Victorian home.
Right.
And then I'm going to throw in natural human nature. So you built a beautiful Victorian home that had a lot of cleaning and upkeep to do. So guess what your children don't want when they move out of the house?
Okay.
They don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So the true Victorian home kind of fell out of favor because of its success. They're big. They got lots of rooms, lots of stuff going on, lots of visual interest, but they're labor intensive.
Well, because another facet of Victorian homes that I've observed, Allan, because we've got some here in Memphis.
We do.
I've been inside,
beautiful.
and they're great. But there's more. Okay, there's way more decorative elements. If the molding on the outside of the house is just instead of it being just a straight,
it's not
4x1 piece of trim, it's got molding. It's got
carved.
Everything's frilly. Everything's carved. The angles are unique. I've seen a Victorian home with round, curved windows, and I'm talking curved from the outside. So it's got all these, which to me is more maintenance and more work to put it up. It makes for a visually more stunning thing. It was supposed to be, I guess, the way you showed people that you had money, that it was showing off, basically.
Exactly. So here we go. Now we're going to get to about 1900, and now we're going to start throwing technology at the grandiose house because materials are changing. The world is changing. And in 1914, I'm going to give you a weird, unrelated product release that kind of helped end the Victorian era.
Oh, okay. What is
Listerine.
it? Listerine. Now, okay, good. That's
The look on Joe's face right now.
I'm kind of trying to figure this one out. Okay,
All right,
go ahead.
because, all right, we get into World War One,
Mm-hmm.
and in World War One, we basically come out of it with the big discovery that there are germs.
Oh, okay. So
And
that Listerine was an
dust
answer to, yeah.
And
okay.
there were a lot of products that came along, and I'm just picking on him because he happened to be right at the right time. As a mouthwash, Listerine came out in 1914.
Okay.
Which was a big move towards a cleaner, more antiseptic look and a simpler look than the grandiose Victorian that needed all of that maintenance and all of that upkeep and all of that cleaning to look clean versus some of the more modern, because keep in mind, Mr. Frank Lloyd Wright and a few other people are now poised to come onto the scene.
And
so
and
there's a
they're-
big change between the two world wars.
Yeah, they're all about, okay, well, we need to come up with something new. So they almost like we have to do the opposite of it. This is why you get
Exactly. So now-
minimalism and straight lines
Exactly.
and stuff like that.
So the
yeah.
suburban aesthetic begins to change very drastically away from more or less the Addams Family mansion.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, Alan, because you could say this was a snapshot in time. This was a time where if you want people to know you had money, you make the house fancier. Instead of you add. Okay, well that adds. And also one other feature was you talked about all these zones, which is why every room there's doors all over these things.
Yes.
If you're walking down a hallway in a Victorian home, there's all these doors with mysteries behind it, and
Yes.
that's why they kind of look
And
haunted
archways
and things like
and
that.
bulwarks and places where people could stand behind them and hide. And there were places to disappear. And the world famous Scooby-Doo hallway.
Right.
With all the doors all up and down it where people could run in and out, back and forth everywhere, was actually fairly true.
Well, that's the thing, because there's this perception that the houses are creepy and haunted. I think another thing is I'm even thinking of It's a Wonderful Life. When they're going by the old whatever that house is that
Right.
they want to buy, it's old, and you associate it with basically being old and outdated and ghosts and things like that. Just because it's sort of abandoned. There's an abandoned sense of Victorian homes, right?
Well, because of the ornateness of it,
Mm-hmm.
when you stop cleaning it, the shabbiness of it appears very quickly.
Right.
'Cause
Cobwebs.
The cobwebs
right.
and the leaves and the weird angles and where the leaves pile up as the wind blows and the big entryways, which were actually kind of designed to give you a certain sense of like a face,
Mm-hmm.
like the house was looking at you. Well, that looks great while it's all shiny and happy.
Right.
But now you think about the Victorian, where they put the windows and how they put the balconies and where the doors were, they're kind of face-like.
Didn't they also say that, because I was watching some videos on this, I thought they said the way that the windows were designed, and plus the fact that part of the mystique of having money back then was having these big fancy curtains, which,
Oh, yeah.
they said you didn't get a lot of natural light coming in.
Oh, no.
So there's a certain gloominess and candlelit, stuff,
And
right?
keep in mind, we also didn't have good pest control. Well, this is a big thing because if you
Right.
got critters in the house, they would treat it with arsenic.
Yeah. Okay.
Not real good for humans.
Al, one other thing, too, because you're an expert in this part. We always associate the Victorian home with, creaks and groans and chains rattling and things. And there's actually a scientific reason for this, right?
Well, you think about we talk about contraction and expansion of your home constantly.
Right.
The bigger the home and more weird angles and more design and more wood you've got everywhere, the more things that are expanding and contracting, not necessarily at the same rate. So now you get the mysterious footsteps going down the halls. You get the mysterious sounds coming from the stairs. You get weird groans coming from the pipes
Right.
that were installed probably after the house was built, so they weren't designed in the house.
Sure.
So welcome to every small change to the house being another noise access.
Yeah.
And drafty, these things were not built by our standards of how to keep the air out and the air in. They were actually designed to, have some drafts.
And actually, another thing I learned too is just that I thought that there were a couple of noteworthy incidents that happened in a Victorian home, and then also just the simple fact that the Addams family. I want to say that the cartoon, like the cartoon strip, came out. I want maybe in the 30s or something like that.
Right.
It was pretty old, and they give them that house. A lot of it was just perception. Back in the day, if you lived during the Victorian era, you would have said, "Oh my gosh, that house is beautiful and comforting and everything." But it's funny how tastes can change.
Well, but also keep in mind, most of your living and dying took place at home.
Okay. Yeah.
So keep in mind, if you had a big house, chances are somebody in the family laid in state in the house.
They had Aunt Mabel's funeral, and you're a
Mabel's
little kid
funeral was
looking
right there in the living room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It is interesting though, because if you look at some of the modern homes and everything, they don't look creepy at all. They just look.
But visually to us, they look very strange.
Yeah. But
we don't live this way anymore.
No. There is something to it there, and there's probably a lot more that we haven't unpacked with this. But the Victorian home is still a triumph in architecture in terms of just
so much fun.
You talk about making a statement. It's okay. We if we drive by a Victorian home, we pay attention to it.
We take a look. Yes.
So for that reason alone, it deserves a great Moments in Building History salute. But pretty interesting stuff, Allan. So, all right. Well, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to brag a little when we come back, Allan. We're going to talk about all the things in science that we predicted years ago.
All right.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Now, this is the forklift. You need a license to operate this machine. That means the upstairs office workers can't drive it. Quiz, Mike, should you drive the forklift?
I can and I have.
No.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Nothing like real life horror.
Exactly.
Oh.
Max, you've driven the forklift, haven't you? So
I can neither confirm nor deny.
okay. That's what we need here. Why isn't there a forklift at the studios here? I mean, we could get some.
I have a license. I am allowed.
Anyway, welcome
Who
back.
says we need a license?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass.
Right in the forklift, or the baby forklift.
Exactly. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like and check out the action over there. And really, we would love to, we've been talking today about some, Halloween, home improvement horror stories. We've been talking about Victorian houses. We've been kind of complaining about some stuff too, Allan. I hate to say it, but right. Hey, it's a day for that, I really like our design flaws segment because I feel like it gives us a chance to vent, but also to contribute to the idea of making design better in the future.
Oh yes.
What to avoid is always good to know. But really, if you've got anything interesting, take advantage, especially of the text line, because you can not only call us or you can text us, but you can send in pictures at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline. So take advantage of that. And actually, you can do that any day of the week. We should mention that because we like getting texts during the week, too. Mm-hmm. So contact us 24 hours a day by text at 901-683-0989. All right, Allan, so we're going to brag a little bit, I suppose. I don't know if this is bragging. Let's talk a little science. So,
Hail science!
Mostly this was an observation. We were talking off the air about some of these things where we predict, back on Tool Talk and back even on Geek Tank Radio, there's things that you and I, mostly because you and I are the main ones interested in science that we talked about that seemed crazy at the time that are actually going on today, and a lot of it has to do with home improvement and everything. So we wanted to indicate a few of them.
It happened.
Yeah. One thing though, could you update us on a science story that we recently discussed? This isn't so much of a prediction because this is something people are working on, but it had to do with new sources of electricity, I guess. So
well, we keep talking about the house battery and roof charging systems and of how amazing it's going to be to not necessarily replace the grid, but augment the grid, take care of the grid, get alternative energy. And one of the stories we did was about a submerged battery.
Yeah, an undersea battery.
Undersea battery storage. And we both were speculating that, well, what could happen if it went even further? And we sat there and kind of like, well, hydroelectric dams do certain things, but the action of waves is a tremendous amount of energy.
Yeah, you're just taking something that moves steadily and you attach it to something, a mechanism that could, like a dam, right? A dam uses the power of running water and it converts it into electrical energy, and hopefully if it can store it in a battery then send it somewhere else, there you go.
And then, about a week later, I happened to come across at Wired Magazine a great article title that said, "The world needs more gigantic sci-fi sea dams." So I'm
what
like,
do you mean sci-fi, though?
Here we go.
What do they mean by that? They're talking about like something you'd see in Star Wars or something?
Well, yeah. All right, so here we go. Let's just take an estuary system where you got a lot of wave action, and basically what is being theorized, and a couple of countries are actually looking at doing now, is going back in and reinstalling a lagoon system.
What do you mean?
Well, kind of think like rice paddies.
Okay.
So you got little, kind of like a stair steps.
Standing water.
One's a little deeper than the one's a little shallower. The next one's a little shallower. The next one's a little shallower. So as the high tide comes in, it would fill all of the lagoons. So all of them are nice, full of water. The high tide's in. Everybody's happy. All the critters are happy. Well, low tide comes around. The tide starts heading out.
Yeah.
Well, as the water retreats, it would activate the turbines.
The movement of the water.
As the water came in, the turbines would be turning and generating electricity. When the water began retreating, it would begin generating electricity.
Right.
The critters are happy. They have lagoons. Everybody's happy because we have a green source of energy that just doesn't stop.
Yeah, you're not digging up coal. You're not having to send miners down underground.
Exactly.
You're not,
So, welcome to we thought this would be a great idea, and apparently so do a lot of other people.
I don't know why, but I'm just reminded of that Bruce Lee quote where he's like, "Now water can flow or water can crash. Be water, my friends."
Okay. Max just weighs in with it. Okay.
Can't really argue with that one. Okay.
Well, in martial arts, you definitely want to be fluid.
We actually want to flow. So, we... not that we gave anybody a great idea, but it was great that we had an idea, and then 2 weeks later it got confirmed.
Well, I'm gonna give you some credit, Allan, because this is going back to our Geek Tank days, 7 some odd years ago. You were talking now. Keep in mind, the world changes every few years. It's amazing.
With 3 years, 3 year shift. Yeah.
So we're talking, 2015. You were talking about 3D printers, and our experience with 3D printers back in the day was that, it's maybe the size of a microwave oven, and it prints little. You could print a little action figure of Yoda, and it would take like 8 hours to do it or something. Right. You said, well, once these things really get going, we're going to be 3D printing our houses.
Yes.
And some people laughed at you, Allan, and I did not. And what are we seeing today?
There are actually home 3D printers.
What's great about 3D printing too? Well, for one thing, these are massive. They're printing, they're printing
huge.
Whole segments of your house. But
the word printing is being loosely used. These giant material transfer systems,
right,
based on a computer-driven program. I mean, it's not like you can't think like your 3D printer that there's like a little print head running back and forth over this property. What there are like concrete arms being swung over and into place, and forms are being filled. But the simple fact is, it's based on this same technology platform.
What it's doing too is there's almost, I want to say, 3D printing when it comes to construction. There's, what is it, like 2% waste, if that. There's almost no waste. There's virtually no waste because, if you're building a house with you cut the 2x4, you cut the sheetrock, and then you throw it in the scrap pile. There's quite a bit of waste. Well, 3D printing eliminates a lot of that, and it allows us to go do other things while the machine is printing up the wall or printing up the whatever. Because, I mean, I'm still not worried that robots are going to replace us. I think robots are making our life easier, to be honest. So,
Well, I like the one where there's a company out there right now working on a metallic 3D printing technology where they can print jet engines
Yeah.
in like a week.
Right.
That's astounding to me.
Yeah. But you called it, so I got to give you credit on that. Here's another one that we discussed, and I backed you up on this too. This and a lot of these were just people speculating, and we're like, nope, this is going to happen in the future. And this is modular construction, and this takes a lot of different forms. We've seen these where people will take shipping containers and they cut openings in them, and they make homes out of shipping containers because they're very strong, and it's basically a modular design. One container might be the kitchen, one container might be a bedroom, but also, Alan, it's not just it's not repurposing. It's actually, I know there's companies in Japan that do this. They will basically in a factory, they will they will construct your entire kitchen.
Yes.
And they'll stick it on a truck, and they'll stick it on a truck, and they'll take a crane and they'll lower it in your kitchen. Boom, it's all done.
Completely pre-wired and ready to plug into the power module, and bam, there you go.
Elon Musk is making these things. He's making these collapsible homes that are. It's the same as modular because you can kind of select your whatever, but by making it in a factory, there's less waste, and it's.
Again, you're looking at the fact that we're taking advantage of the processing power that we now have.
Right.
Of just kind of as a weird side effect. The very first movie I ever edited on was about 1998, 1999. And we processed it by hooking 20 computers together to run the render.
Right.
So we had about 20 minutes of movie that we were trying to get all the pieces and parts put together, all the computer effects. And we rendered 20 minutes of movie. It took 48 hours and 20 computers to do it.
Man. Yeah.
All right. I regularly now process an entire television show in a 3-to-1 ratio. So if it's a 30-minute show, I can have the entire thing built, edited, all the effects done, everything laid out, click render to produce the final form.
Right.
And the render is done, if it's a 30-minute show, about an hour and a half.
Oh, everything's
and
quicker.
You talk about just how much more computing power we have today. It's astounding.
Well, that's the other thing about it. Steering back to modular constructions and away from Allan's shameless plugs, but with modular construction, the tolerances are so much smaller too. Well, these if they're constructing a room and it's going to connect to another room, they probably have it level and straight and square down to like. A 32nd of an inch, maybe a millimeter or something. These things are really precise.
Yeah, they
click together. They're airtight. They're just I don't know.
Well, when you start discussing things in the terms of we have a 5 centimeter tolerance.
Right.
All right, that's less than half an inch.
Right.
That's a lot. I mean, that you talking about that's a huge tolerance when these things are snapping together and they just slide in next to each other perfectly.
Yeah. Here's another one, Alan. This is something that I feel like I don't know what you would label this, but basically simpler construction methods that we've seen. I don't know. I think this is more mainstream in like Europe or something, but it is coming this way where basically you take, for the lack of a better term, a thing that almost looks like a Lego. It's about 2 feet across. It's about 10 inches tall, whatever. And you literally, you set your bait. You say, okay, I'm going to go build a shed, or I'm going to build an addition to my house. You set the foundation down, and you start clicking this into place. Literally, you could watch people. It's insulated. It connects together.
Yep.
You leave an opening for the window, you do this, and suddenly you've got a fully insulated wall that you and your buddy put up in like 6 hours or something. It's and I think that's great, man. It's
we ran into a story not too long ago that warmed your heart a little bit about plastic being recycled and reused. That they were making pavers.
Sure.
And, the pavers that they were making out of waste plastic bags, cups, tennis shoe soles, whatever, was being reprocessed and being extruded back into a full paver that was extremely durable and got a lot of plastic out of the environment.
Right. Right. Speaking of plastic, boy, you queued it up perfect, Alan. One other thing, because this is where I think home improvement and everything, and just really our life is going to change once they crack this nut. But basically, biodegradable plastic, or just making plastic-like materials from things that might be made of soybeans or just edible. You put it in you put a plastic bag in the ground, it dissolves. And it breaks down, and it's perfectly natural or something.
Well,
once we crack that, the world's going to get a lot cleaner.
There have been 2 or 3 articles this week alone based on vegetable oil-based plastics,
right,
and mushroom root-based plastics.
Yeah.
So, it eventually just turns back into its original base elements, which are natural and non-polluting and usable by the environment.
Yeah. I don't know, folks. I still have optimism. I don't get all hung up on the news of the day. I just, you just keep looking forward and just think about.
Well, you got to admit you have a problem.
Right.
And then go for a good solution of, we run into this all the time working on projects.
Right.
The wall's not square.
Sure.
All right, the wall might have been square in 1910 when they built the building. Doubt it.
Yeah.
But the wall's not square now. Guess what? We just have to deal with it.
Right.
We got to find a solution and work around it. The funniest one I had recently was a wall that had all of the studs had been chewed through by a squirrel.
Yeah.
So,
that's not good for your structure.
No, it's not. So, what do you got to do? You got to reinforce the wall and put it back together.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you just got to find solutions sometimes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's just something that we, here at Tool Talk Radio, we try to be on the cutting edge, and we like to be ahead of the curve, and that's what you're going to get, So, I mean, I just thought that was worth noting, Alan, because they always laugh at people when they think outside the box like that. But
when we looked at it and said, imagine getting giant Legos and building a house out of it.
And boom.
4 years later, there's a company going, you know what? We got giant Legos. You can build your house out of it.
Exactly. So we got a couple more things to get to, Alan. But before that, let's not neglect to tell people what we're up to because, I mean, it's our show.
It is. We can do that.
So what are you up to this week?
Well, the first thing I want to do is
darkoakmedia.com.
Well, first thing I want to do is give the Tool Talk Radio family a shout out. We have a new country listening to us this week.
Okay.
We have been discovered by Norway.
Oh, okay.
So,
Norway.
All right, guys.
Wait, they're part Vikings.
Joe,
they're part of my ancestry.
Your heart should be leaping with joy. Your people are finding you.
Okay.
So, I don't know how to say welcome in Norwegian. I should have looked it up, but welcome, guys. Send us an email. Show us some stuff. Let us know what's going on in Norway.
Exactly. So, are there military bases in Norway?
Oh yeah.
Well, it might be some soldiers. So if you're part of the military, we definitely want to hear from you.
And thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Okay. Over at Dark Oak Media, the big thing right now is, of course, all of our scary stuff out of New Orleans. Haunted New Orleans is our biggest thing through Halloween. It came from the international market as a perpetual favorite. And our new show is Let Me Ask You This with Scott J. Carroll asking bizarre and obscure questions of his panel.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds good. And Scott J. Carroll's probably listening right now. I mean, the guy's weighing in on my grammar.
Linguistic advice.
So, yeah, if you need any linguistic advice, he's pretty well spoken.
He is.
So he can straighten you out there. So, all right, Alan, I only do this a few weeks of the year, but it is that time of the year. So the Memphis, instead of plugging my contracting work, I'm shifting gears, putting on my geek hat. The Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention is coming up November 18th through 19th. And what's great is when we did hold the convention last year. However, we kind of, we were right in the middle of the Delta variant. It was scaled down. There was a lot of activities that we didn't do because of COVID. And, I know it's still out there, but things are much more opened up. So we're bringing back everything. We brought back our video gaming is going to be really big. We've got
esports,
the University of Memphis Esports Club is doing video gaming. You can just come in and play casual, but they're also doing video game tournaments that are going to be pretty big. And they're going to do the finals in the downstairs ballroom. So they're pretty gung-ho. I'm a big believer in getting young people with a lot of energy and enthusiasm and getting them to do all the work, and I get to charge money and get ticket
there
sales
you
for
go.
it, you know. But no, they're good kids over there, and it's going to be so. Video gaming is going to be great. We're bringing back all of our Lego activities in the Lego Lounge, you know, and including a Pinewood Derby type thing. You build your Lego car, you race it down the track, and you can win great Lego prizes. We're doing the Piranha Room, which is my personal favorite. It's Saturday night. We're going to have 80s and 90s Gothic music and art. It's a pretty interesting event, and it's all based around the Piranha Room where I used to go back in San Diego back in the 80s
Back in
and
the
90s.
day.
So, but it's a lot of fun, and our tickets, and of course, our guest of honor is Adasa. She's the voice of Dolores from the Disney movie. Won an Oscar, Ellen.
Yes.
In Encanto. She also sings that earworm of the century.
Oh, yes.
We don't talk about Bruno. She's a great lady. She's going to be our celebrity guest, so you can come meet her. The kids love her too. So our tickets are super affordable, and actually, if you take advantage today, we have a 1 day, we have 1 day left. I'm doing 2 for 1 if you buy a 2-day pass, which is a pretty great deal. So, you know, you really can't beat it. It's going to expire today, though. So if you want to take advantage of it, go to memphiscfc.com and follow us on Facebook. And that's about, you know, I'm not going to be promoting this very long, but when it's this time of year, I mean,
You get to dig in a little
it behooves us. So, and Alan will be there with his gang. If that, it's still going to be good though. It's still going to be a lot of fun, and we have great vendors.
It's still going to be good in spite of the fact I'm there. I like that.
Comic book art. It's just it's a lot of fun. It's a great family event too. So check it out, memphiscfc.com, and go to Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention on Facebook. So, Alan, this is I don't know what we're calling this, and I don't want to be negative, but this is just something that I feel like I don't know if this is a public service or it's just something me venting, but I've been having. I don't do a lot of sheetrock work anymore, frankly, because I hate it. So, but I do have to do it sometimes.
Right.
And I've been not happy at all with sheetrock screw. I've been buying these, I don't know, 1.5 or 2-inch sheetrock screws.
Right.
Well, I don't know what the heck. Okay, so folks, if you don't know, a sheetrock screw, usually it's a black coated screw, and they have fine thread and they have coarse thread. I get either one. I don't really care. There is something going on with these, though. The last few times I bought sheetrock screws, it feels like they're almost textured to the point where you get the screw halfway in, and then it starts resisting, or the screw snaps in half, or the top starts to strip, and it's just fighting me all the way getting in. And I've almost got to the point where I've just given up, and I just use these exterior deck screws that I'm a fan of. But Alan, am I crazy, or is something going on here? Or
I had a similar experience a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I think it was just a bad batch. But
this can't be, though, because this has been spaced out.
I snatched heads off of those things for like a month till I used up that batch. And the new stuff I got later didn't have that problem. So
what size were you using? Because maybe I'm getting the ones that are too long or something.
I was using, we used a lot of 3s because I work in a lot of commercial stuff.
3-inch?
Yeah, we use a lot of 3s.
Okay, that's a lot to get in.
Yeah. Well, I got to go through double walls.
Okay.
You know, the residential home only has a 1/2-inch sheetrock. When you start talking about commercial stuff, you get into double Fire X, and you can have some pretty thick sheetrock.
Well, I'm not one of these where I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing drywall. I have to use the drywall screw. I'm a renegade. I'll use whatever I want.
Screw. Yeah, you can use a good construction screw.
I'll say this: one screw that I've never had any problem with at all, and I really love these, is the they're deck screws. These are a few bucks more, whatever. But they're because I use a lot of them. Obviously, if I'm building a deck, these are exterior screws. They usually come in yellow or green, and they're coated to resist rust and everything. They don't have a Phillips head on them, though. They have that star bit. What do you call that? The star?
That is a star bit or a little hex head bit. Yeah,
those babies, and those things really grab. And they, I've just shifted and started using them on sheetrock. The downside, though, is that they have a pretty big screw head, so they are going to leave their mark. They're not as
you got to countersink those just a little bit better.
Yeah. But the one screw I've been using more and more, and I use it all the time because it's the thin head star bit screw, if that makes sense. And those things, they have a very small so they don't split the wood. Sometimes you can use them almost for trim work because it doesn't leave a much bigger hole than if you just use a finished nail or something.
Right.
I love those things. So I don't know. Do you have a favorite screw that you use, or
I got to say I'm very partial to the exterior drywall style.
Okay, yeah,
makes it just
it's
it
the
holds
coating.
Up. It holds up.
I use it for inside stuff too. Yeah, because
especially
even
in bathrooms.
Even that stuff can rust and everything like that. So I don't know. I don't even know if that would. I would be curious. I'll put it out there to the listeners. If you've ever had issues recently with drywall screws, let me know what I'm doing wrong, or let us know did they change the texture. I don't know. It's a call to arms. So, well, Alan, I don't know. What a weird show today. I'm kind of looking forward to
too much candy,
regrouping and everything. But hey, guys, get out there, have a fun Halloween, a fun and safe Halloween, and send us pictures afterwards of the aftermath. But anyway, you've been listening to another dynamic episode of Tool Talk Radio, but it's time to get out of here. So on behalf of my buddy Alan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.